world@news.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Consumers urged to brace up for possible transport fares hikes later today as GPRTU holds crunch meeting over rising fuel costs and operational expenditure on the back of rising crude prices. Meanwhile, government of Ghana through its embassy in Qatar has launched an urgent emergency evacuation process for all Ghanaian nationals residing in the Gulf state. And much later on the program, a massive rainstorm leaves a trail of destruction in the Gulumpe community in Bono East region, where over 80 homes have been destroyed. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. The government of Ghana, through its embassy in Qatar, has launched an urgent emergency evacuation process for all Ghanaian nationals residing in the Gulf state. The move follows a significant deterioration in regional security and repeated missile and drone activity over the Qatari capital. In an official notice released on March 15, 2026, the Embassy of Ghana in Doha directed all Ghanaians wishing to return home to urgently reconfirm their interest by submitting the biodata pages of their passport via email, with a strict deadline of Tuesday, the 17th of March, 2026. That will be tomorrow. It added that the evacuation would be a strict one-way exercise from Qatar to Ghana. This escalation in protocol follows a preliminary security advisory issued on the 3rd of March and earlier, quote-unquote, shelter-in-place orders in late February. I'm joined in the studio now by my colleague, Noble Crosby Annan, who's got a copy of that statement coming in from Ghana's embassy in Qatar. Crosby, what are the details?
Well, Beatrice, just like you mentioned, so this is coming from the Embassy of the Republic of Ghana in Doha. And it says that the Embassy of the Republic of Ghana in Qatar wishes to refer to its earlier notice dated 6th March 2026 and to inform all Ghanaians living in Qatar that the government of the Republic of Ghana has decided to undertake an emergency evacuation exercise in Qatar in the wake of the heightened security situation in the region. It is noted that this arrangement is strictly a one-way evacuation exercise to Ghana. Accordingly, Ghanaians in Qatar who wish to be evacuated immediately from Qatar to Ghana, they are kindly requested to reconfirm their interest by submitting the biodata pages of their passports by email to a website, and the website is doha@mfa.gov.gh. doha@mfa.gov.gh, and they should do that latest by tomorrow, Tuesday, 17th March 2026.
Meaning that they have less than 24 hours from now to ensure that they do that. Thank you very much, Noble Crosby Annan, my colleague, bringing us that statement coming in from Ghana's embassy in Doha, in Qatar. Now, we're joined by Richard Kumado, who is a security and fraud consultant. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Isn't it a little too late? Little too late, as it were, in the day to want to evacuate our nationals at this point?
It's better late than never, but then these are peculiar situations that raises peculiar situations for law enforcement agencies or nations to evacuate their people. To the extent that at one point the airspace was closed, then at another point you cannot travel by land, and another point you can travel by land, and today we are where we are now, where they can be airlifted. I think it's a good one.
It's a good one. The people have barely 24 hours to do so now, because the deadline is tomorrow to send the details to the embassy through an email address provided. How do you anticipate how realistic really this is in terms of the time?
Definitely, there will be some difficulties for people who may have issues with getting the information or having their bios on their phones to send it immediately, or whether they have email services at all. And so this may raise some level of challenges. But I want to believe that the embassy must do everything within their power to ensure that if they have opportunity to airlift people, they are not leaving anybody behind.
Again, this is not the first time you're hearing Ghana's embassy in that part of the world asking people to submit their details. The first we heard in February. This is like a month later. What do you think could have been the challenge for the embassy there to really go through with this evacuation, and now it's giving us an urgent one?
The last time I heard, they gave an indication that people who want to move by road, they will need to move. I don't know whether they are using the same facility to reach out to these people, and what has changed from the road movement to airlifting. I agree with you that there could be some challenges, and this is why communication is key, and this is also why the embassies must get to our people, and our people must also be educated enough that everywhere you travel to in the world, your embassy is the first place you must report to, whether you are living in those countries legally or illegally. In times such as this, where convenience will be created, if you are registered with the embassy, it makes life easier for you. So it's an ongoing public education. But like I said earlier, whatever they have to do within their power to ensure that they are not leaving anybody behind, they will have to.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kumado, for speaking to us. And you have Richard Kumado. He's a security and fraud consultant. Meanwhile, global oil prices have risen on Monday as escalating tensions in the Middle East and fresh supply disruptions heightened concerns over global crude availability amidst the worsening energy crisis. International benchmark Brent crude is now trading at $105.60 per barrel, with fares it may go higher. U.S. President Donald Trump said conditions were not yet suitable for a deal with Iran to end the ongoing attacks, adding that he had called on several countries to help secure shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. However, Australia and Japan said they had no plans to send naval vessels to the region to help safeguard the waterway. Here in Ghana, the second pricing window for petroleum for March is beginning today, with fuel outlets expected to increase prices marginally. Chief Executive Officer for the National Petroleum Authority, Edujita Maklu, says the current conflict in the Middle East is expected to impact on prices locally, albeit marginally.
I just checked from Energy News, one of the very respected news outlets, online news outlets on energy-related issues. And they are projecting that crude is doing about $99. Before the conflict, crude was doing $66. And so that's almost like $20 or $30 or so more that has added onto the situation before the conflict. So quite clearly, these are the things that are happening. But thankfully, the one that significantly impacts on pricing, which is the exchange rate, by reason of the current managers of the economy and what they've been able to do, it had kept the currency a bit more stable for the purposes of planning. And so, if the Ghana cedi today were to be trading at $15 Ghana cedi to $1, the price of petroleum products would have been like 23 Ghana cedis for a liter. The price floor, which I strongly believe that is a good mechanism to protect the petroleum downstream, is one of the programs that I inherited. And I can say that it had brought a lot of stability in terms of even protecting the entire petroleum downstream, which is a good thing. And I strongly believe when I was coming, I was monitoring the various OMCs and the prices they are putting up. It is a bit encouraging.
And you have Edujita Maklu. He is the Chief Executive Officer for the National Petroleum Authority. Let's speak to my colleague, Christabel Success-Trevor. She's visited a number of filling stations. She joins us live on the phone now. Christabel, if you can tell us which filling stations or OMCs you visited and what the situation is like across the pumps.
Very much, Beatrice. Very good afternoon to you and to your listeners. Like you rightly said, I've been visited in quite a number of filling stations this morning to know whether the expected fuel price adjustments have started reflecting at the pumps. Now, I can tell you that so far I've visited 2 filling stations, to be precise, Total Energies and Goil. Now, what I'm seeing at the moment is a bit of a mixed situation. Now, at one of the stations, attendants confirmed to me that their prices have already been adjusted. I inquired of the percentage by which it has been adjusted. They are unable to tell me by what percent. Now, while on other stations, they are telling me that they are still selling at the old price because they are waiting for an official communication or a direction from their management before making any changes to their pumps. Some of the attendants that I spoke to also told me that over the past few days, especially from last week, they noticed an increase or an influx in the number of motorists coming to buy fuel, meaning that these motorists are expectant that the prices might go up. According to some drivers, they appear to, according to them rather, many drivers appear to be trying to fill their tanks ahead of this anticipated price adjustment. I also spoke to some drivers as well. They tell me that they are aware that fuel prices may increase, and that has influenced their decision to buy fuel earlier than they would normally would. Some tell me that they are doing that in preparation in case of the prices go up. Others tell me that they are just watching how development will take place. I spoke to some pedestrians, those who normally use the public transport, and they are also expecting that transport fares might increase because they tell me, looking at the past times, anytime fuel prices go up, the transport fares go up. So everybody is just in expectation. But for now, what we are seeing on the ground is that some stations have been adjusting while others are still holding on, likely for confirmation.
Thank you very much. Christabel Success Trevor monitoring some filling stations for us. Let's also get a quick thought of Derek Harcher, who is research analyst with the Institute for Energy Security. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon. Thanks for the opportunity.
Mr. Harcher, from your monitoring, though, what margin of increment are you expecting?
All right. It's a funny sector. The reason why I'm saying this is because of some commentaries that have been made previously and what is happening. You would have seen that things that are happening is not quite good. The reason being that we expect prices to go up at the various pumps for this second pricing window. But what is happening is a bit of a marketing strategy. Some of them do not inure to the benefit of the consumer because per the NPA release, the price floor for this current window is around 11.59%, 59 Ghana cedis for petrol, and then for that of diesel, it's around 14.35. So what it means is that if you compare it to the first pricing window, then it means that petrol is supposed to go up by some 10.6%, and then for diesel, it's supposed to go up by some 14.5%. That is what per the price floor is supposed to happen. But marketing strategies, their margins and other things have been added. And so some of the oil marketing companies are selling petrol at 12.49 Ghana cedis, and then diesel at 15.99 Ghana cedis. What it means is that they have adjusted it such that the price adjustment as compared to their previous prices is now selling about 20% for petrol and then about 23% for diesel. Nobody can fault them. Once the NPA comes out is a price floor. Below it, it becomes illegal for somebody to sell. But some of these oil marketing companies were the same people that were saying that if not for the interventions of the NPA by the price floors, they could have been selling petroleum products below the price floor. And so what has happened today, that the NPA has come out with the price floor where prices are supposed to go up by 10%. But some of the oil marketing companies have adjusted it such that it is now going up by 20%, and then some of them is around 23%. And so is it to the benefit of the consumer, or it is because of that cartel that probably the consumer needs to be protected, because if not for this, then we can all just wake up and somebody could have been selling at almost 13 cities or maybe 17 Ghana cities, if not for the intervention of the NPA. And so it's a funny thing that is happening at the various pumps. But what we know is that prices are supposed to go up, but the margin per the NPA release, which is the price floor, is supposed to be 10.6% for petrol, and then for diesel, it's supposed to be by some 14.5%. That is what we are expecting. Anything that goes beyond that depends on the oil marketing company, and it depends on the consumer to determine or choose which of the oil marketing companies would want to buy his or her diesel or petrol from.
But beyond the OMCs and the consumer that you refer to as perhaps the driving factors for the next prices, we've also heard the Chief Executive Officer of the NPA himself also concerned that what is happening in the Middle East would certainly affect prices. If this continues, what impact do you anticipate beyond what
we've seen? Part. You said the NPA Chief Executive said something. Sorry.
Yes, Ediji Tamaklu already said that what's happening would affect prices. But I'm saying that beyond what we've seen in terms of this immediate impact, what further impact do you expect should this war persist?
Right. So the further impact is that our country or our economy is influenced by one particular thing when it comes to price of goods and services, and that is fuel price and then that of utility tariffs. And so far as the prices, or let me say the fuel price on international markets continues to increase, then it means that we more or less become price takers. What we have control over is what's within our purview, and that becomes the exchange rate and then some of the taxes and margins in the price build-up. And so if we're able to ensure that there's some stability in terms of the exchange rate, then it means that the full stretch or the impact that we are supposed to see at the various pumps will not be felt. And that is what is even happening now. Prices should have gone more than even 30%. If not for the intervention, or let me say not for the exchange rate, price would have gone up for more than 30%. But for the exchange rate stability, prices are below, or let me say prices are what we are experiencing right now. And this is not good for Ghanaians, because one, it will cumulatively cause inflation rate to rise. For over the past month, we've been seeing some reduction when it comes to inflation rate. If we are not careful, and it's very likely that for the month of March, inflation is likely to shoot up. And we are having a good news on the part of the electricity tariffs, because for the second quarter, utility tariffs are supposed to come down. That would have been a good signal. But for petrol or for fuel prices that have gone up, we expect that inflation will go up. And when inflation goes up, it means that almost everything's price continues to rise. You've seen agitation from transport unions and others. But we also believe that they must not be in a hurry to be able to adjust transport fares to go up, because fuel prices changes every 2 weeks. And so are they willing to be able to review transport fares every 2 weeks? If they cannot contain that, then there must not be a hurry to be able to say they want to adjust transport fares to go up.
Thank you very much, Mr. Harcher, for speaking to us. And you have Derek Harcher. He's a research analyst with the Institute for Energy Security. Meanwhile, commercial drivers are holding a crunch meeting this afternoon over possible increase in the cost of commute. The GPRTU says that the new fares to take effect from the 16th of March is as a result of soaring operational cost and fuel price increases. Diesel has experienced a sharp increase, moving from 11 Ghana cedis 42 pesos to 14 cedis 35 pesos per litre. At some fuel stations, petrol has increased to 12 cedis 49 pesos from 11 cedis 57 pesos. Now, while liquefied petroleum gas has climbed up from 9 cedis 38 pesos to 10 cedis 67 pesos per kilogram. These changes represent increases of 1.11 Ghana cedis for petrol, 2.93 cedis for diesel, and 1.29 cedis for LPG within the same month. Transport operators say such increases significantly affect the operational costs, particularly as other vehicle-related expenses remain high. Let's go up north, and a severe rainstorm has left a trail of destruction in the Gulumpe community in the Kintampo North municipality of the Bono East region. Over 80 houses now confirmed to have been destroyed. destroyed. The disaster has displaced dozens of residents, including women and children, leaving many without shelter. Belinda Tete reports.
A violent rainstorm ripped through Gulumpe community over the weekend, leaving a trail of devastation that has displaced dozens of families and destroyed more than 80 houses. The storm, which struck late Saturday afternoon, targeted the heart of its farming community in the Kintampo North municipality. By Sunday morning, the full scale of havoc was visible. Roofs torn from buildings, mud structures collapsed into debris, and personal belongings scattered across the muddy landscape. The situation has left some residents stranded.
We are
displaced. Our food and belongings are also destroyed by the rain, so we plead for intervention.
Something like maize, cassava, which is something that, like those who were married house, it can be washed over, you can't do anything with it. And some of the crowd, if you need to wash, it's not, they don't do anything. So only approach that to government, that they should come to our aid and help the people.
Local leaders, including the Member of Parliament for the area and the Municipal Assembly officials who arrived in Gulumpe to conduct a formal assessment, described the scene as troubling.
Perennial headache challenge of rainstorms and roofing a lot of buildings in my constituency, Kintampo North specifically. It has hit this year harder on the people of Gulumpe, just 2 days. That is to talk of an average of 5, not less than 400 people have been hit hard.
It's been very unfortunate. We have about over 80 houses that are severely hit with this particular rainstorm. So that is really very troubling. There are people, children, women and children, males, who cannot get a place to put up their heads.
They are calling on the central government to urgently intervene.
On our own, we are doing something small. Maybe something small that can bag a bag of maize for each household temporarily. However, the bigger issue is an appeal to the government through the municipal, regional and national, so that they immediately come to our aid.
The communities of Kawampe, Poto and Busiyama have faced similar threats in the past, with officials highlighting their proximity to the savannah as a major factor due to its vulnerability to high-velocity winds. As Gulumpe begins to pick up the pieces, residents are hoping for an immediate intervention to permanently salvage the situation.
Belinda Tete, our Bono correspondent, brought us that report. A delegation from the World Bank and Ghana's Ministry of Education is touring schools benefiting from the Ghana Accountability for Learning Outcomes project, GALLOP. The team, led by World Bank Managing Director Bashar Donahoe and Ghana's Education Minister Haruna Iddrisu, visited the Osu Manhien Basic School and the Armed Forces Senior High Technical School to assess progress under the project. Funded with $335.83 million, the project is designed to strengthen basic education and has already reached over 3.1 million students, surpassing its initial target, with girls making up 47% of beneficiaries. The Minister for Education, Haruna Iddrisu, says that Ghana is beginning to realign its investment in education to focus more on foundational learning.
We in Ghana, as many of you heard President Mahama as the State of the Nation address, we are beginning to realign our investment in education to focus more on foundational learning. Because if we want to get it right, we must get it right at the basic foundational learning. And essentially, Pascal, thanks to Robert and your well-known teams, Shazak and Ama and Co, GALLOP have been looking at improving quality learning outcomes at the foundational learning. And they've gotten back a significant number of out-of-school children who are also back in school as part of the board which has been implemented. Significantly, as you arrive in Ghana today, I look forward to the implementation of our new flagship, which is the secondary education transformation for results, for jobs, which is very significant for us. I'm told that the World Bank generously will support the government of Ghana with about $300 million.
And you heard that the Minister for Education, Haruna Idrisu, the Managing Director of the World Bank, also spoke to the press.
We believe the Ghana program is one of the finest educational programs that the World Bank implements across the world. And from coming to your school, from meeting your pupils, I know this is definitely the case. So, Honourable Minister, I want to thank you, Minister Adu, for your presence here today. I am honoured to be in the presence of a minister who is so committed to the future of Ghana and so committed to the goal of education in turning that vision into a reality. And I thank all of his colleagues in the department. I thank the staff here in this school and the schools all over Ghana for their role in supporting the young children of Ghana and ensuring that the challenges that we have, the challenges we need to overcome, and the great opportunities that await, for ensuring that together we work to make that happen. So Minister Adu, officials of the Department of Education.
I heard that the Managing Director of the World Bank, the Minority Caucus in Parliament, is currently visiting some cocoa growing areas in the Ashanti region to engage farmers, presumably gauge their sentiments after the government announced a reduced farm gate cocoa price in February. The government has attributed the price cut to a plunge in the price of cocoa at the international market and also a hedge move the minority strongly criticized. William Evans Income is our man following this. He joins us live on the line. William, if you can tell us which areas the Minority Caucus has so far visited.
Well, so they are focusing 5 constituencies for today. Began from the Bosome-Franho constituency. Now we've moved to the Asante Akim South constituency. Very soon we're heading to the north and then end at central, and that will be for the first cluster. And they have been engaging farmers, letting them understand why they believe that government has been very insensitive. And they're also claiming that this is the very first time that cocoa prices have plummeted under a particular government as far as this particular country is concerned. And they are also been defending that there are avalanche of avenues that the government could have employed in maintaining the price for the farmers, especially the farm gate price of cocoa for the farmers. But the government has just been adamant, and that is what the minority has been telling these farmers.
And has there been any immediate response so far from the farmers that you've seen?
Well, they've also been sharing their concern. For instance, one farmer that I spoke to said that he had planned prior to this particular reduction. So it came as a shock to him, and for him, he's going to lose a lot if prices continue to remain at 2,500 because of the promises that were given to the cocoa farmers. So they've been sharing that level of response with us.
What else should we expect from the caucus in your region beyond the visit to the farms, and any other place they intend to go to beyond where you've been?
Well, so now we are not privy to how many constituencies they are visiting, but what we do know is that they are likely to visit almost every cocoa growing community as far as their tour of the Ashanti region is concerned. Now today they are looking at 4. Already I've mentioned that they have been to the Bosome-Franho constituency. Now we are in the Asante Akim South constituency. From here we are moving to the north, then we'll end in the central. Tomorrow we are not too sure which constituency they will be visiting as far as their tour of the region is concerned. As they move, we are aligned.
Indeed. William Evans Income, he's a man in the Ashanti region. And that's it for the Midday News here on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Log on to shrinews.com for more news.
Hello there, good afternoon. Welcome to Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7 with me, Michael Obodu. Coming up, fuel prices begin to rise at the local pumps following NPA's announcement of an increase in the floor price. Also later in the bulletin, Bank of Ghana opens 129th Monetary Policy Committee meeting as Governor Johnson Esiama leads review of falling inflation and rising global tensions shaping Ghana's interest rates outlook. Details coming up shortly. Please stay. Well, thank you so much for your time. And now to stories. And despite the high investor appetite, government opted for a cautious borrowing approach, accepting less than both its initial target and the total amount offered by the market. There is more in the following 3 Business News Desk report.
Investors swarmed the auction with total bids amounting to 8.737 billion cedis, surpassing government's ambitious target of 8.131 billion cedis. However, in a strategic mood amid a general decline in interest rate, government accepted only 7.991 billion cedis across the 3 tenors. The auction saw a continued downward trend in yields, signaling a shift in the domestic lending environment. The 91-day bill remained the most liquid instrument, attracting 6.151 billion cedis bids, while government accepted 5.882 billion cedis at a yield of 4.71%. For the 182-day bill, investors offered 2.056 billion cedis, of which 1.62 billion cedis was accepted at an interest rate of 6.28%. The 324-day bill, the 1-year paper, saw offers of 529 million cedis, with government taking 480 million cedis at a yield of 9.40%. The subscription rate was 207.45%. The oversubscription rate was 107.45%, while the acceptance rate was 91.46%. Analysts suggest that while oversubscription highlights robust liquidity in banking sector and investor confidence, government's decision to accept less than its target reflects a desire to capitalize on falling interest rate to manage debt servicing costs.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Let's bring you more stories now. Trade operations at Ghana's major entry points face significant disruption as the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders GIF and the Customs Brokers Association of Ghana prepare to withdraw their services effective today, March 16. The industrial action is a direct protest against the government's recent directive banning the transit of selected goods through land borders. Under the new policy, items such as rice, sugar, cooking oil and pharmaceuticals must be routed exclusively through Ghana's seaports. The clearing agents argue that the ban is a barrier to trade that contradicts international protocols on the free movement of goods. According to GIF and KUBAG, the move could lead to job losses, trade insecurity, increased smuggling, revenue decline, among others. Secretary of the Aflao branch of the Custom Brokers Association of Ghana is Oscar Akaba.
the clearing agent wants to go on a sit-down strike in relation to Ministry of Finance and Customs directive that they have banned transit goods through the land borders. According to them, it is going to create insecurity, is going to create joblessness, is going to create revenue loss to the nation. And this is the reason why they are saying this. They are also saying that all these things that is happening, to be frank, it is just 1 out of a million. So they can't just use one unfortunate incident, which even that incident, it has not been totally confirmed that there was a diversion. And these issues are still at the investigative stage with the BNI and Co. So they don't see the reason why the activity, the industry where they also get their daily bread could just be banned. Are they saying that there can't be any unfortunate situations like that?
So that was the Secretary of the Aflao branch of the Customs Brokers Association. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Finance and the Ghana Revenue Authority have defended a ban as a necessary intervention to protect national revenue. Recent interceptions of diverted transit trucks where goods intended for neighboring countries were illegally sold in Ghana reportedly cost the state millions in unpaid duties. Now, a related development, the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry says the expected rise in fuel prices threatens recent gains made in bringing inflation down. According to the Ghana Statistical Service, inflation currently stands at 3.3% as of February 2026, the lowest recorded in decades. The latest figure marks the 14th consecutive monthly decline in inflation. Economists attribute the slowdown largely to easing food prices, relative stability of the cedi, and tight monetary policy by the Bank of Ghana aimed at containing price pressures. But the chamber warns that the expected increase in fuel prices, which could be as high as 17%, risk reversing some of the progress made. Higher fuel costs often translates into increased transport fares and rising production costs for businesses, which can eventually feed into consumer prices.
It's really not a good news. When prices of fuel goes up, it affects everything. It's the major cause of inflation. Or basically what we can do is to ensure that our strategic reserves are enough to contain some of these shocks. So unless we don't have that much strategic reserves, we will find ourselves in a position that will not be too good for the nation.
Meanwhile, President of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Abbas Miezen, has welcomed plans by the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission to reduce utility tariffs. However, he says businesses had hoped for a larger cut to provide stronger relief for companies facing rising operational costs.
It's something that we called for. At the last time that there was the increment, we had planned to go on a demonstration against the PRC. For it going down, we think that that's good. It should have gone down even much more. We are looking at about 6 to 7% reduction in utilities. But be that as it may, I think we will make do with that, expecting that it will go down further in the coming months.
That was Stefan Miezen. He's the president of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Meanwhile, Three Business can confirm that prices at the pumps have begun to rise at some oil marketing companies across the countries. Checked by Three Business on Monday morning, March 16, show that Star Oil has revised the price of petrol to 12 cedis 49 pesos per litre from 10 cedis 46 pesos per litre. Diesel has also seen a sharp increase, now selling at 15 cedis 99 pesos per litre, up from 11 cedis 97 pesos previously announced by the company. A circular issued by the National Petroleum Authority to service stations across the country and cited by Three Business directed managers to update the new prices from 8 a.m. on Monday, March 16. Meanwhile, Gore also adjusted its prices on Sunday, March 15. Petrol is currently selling at 11 cedis 57 pesos per litre, while diesel is going for 14 cedis 35 pesos. It is not yet clear whether the company will review its prices again following the latest adjustments by other oil marketing companies. Industry watchers say the move by Star Oil and Gulumpe could influence how other oil marketing companies revise their pump prices in the coming days. The Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies, COMAC, attributes the expected increase to rising global crude oil prices. According to the chamber, escalating geopolitical tensions in the Middle East and disruptions along the Strait of Hormuz, a key global oil shipping route, have tightened supply and pushed international petroleum prices higher. Prices of refined petroleum products have also surged on the international market, with diesel rising by as much as 43%, LPG by nearly 24%, and petrol by about 19%. Global crude oil prices have also climbed sharply in recent days, rising from $71.41 to over $100 per barrel, adding further pressure on global pump prices. And that's how we end today's edition of Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. For more stories, please check out our website at 3news.com/business. I am Michael Obodu. Thank you for tuning in. As always, please stay safe.
Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7.